My siblings have a weirdly intimate relationship, and my grandmother says it's a family tradition. I honestly just want someone to read this and tell me I'm not insane for feeling like I'm trapped in a nightmare I can't wake up from. For context, I'm 22 and grew up in what people on the outside thought was a close-knit family. You know, all the bull crap about Sunday dinners at grandma's, wholesome family photos on Facebook, my mom bragging about how well-behaved we were at church. But behind all that, there was something off. I didn't know what it was when I was little. I just knew there was a feeling in the house, like the air was thick and heavy all the time. I have a brother who's currently 24 and a sister who's 20. Let's call them Ethan and Lily. Ethan has always been the golden child, smart, athletic, charming, and Lily was the baby. Pretty, sweet, fragile, in a way that made everyone want to protect her. And me? I am the middle one who was invisible most of the time. The first time I suspected something was wrong was when I was 16. I came home early from a friend's house because I'd forgotten my jacket and it was freezing. The house was quiet, way too quiet. Ethan's bedroom door was cracked open, and I heard voices inside. It was Lily's voice, laughing. But not like the way you laugh at a joke. It was high-pitched, breathless, almost nervous. So I peeked through the crack, and I really wish I hadn't. I saw Ethan sitting on the edge of his bed. Lily was on his lap, straddling him, her arms around his neck. Their faces were close, too close. For a second, I thought maybe they were fighting or playing some weird game, but then I saw her hips move, slowly, like she was rocking against him. His hands were gripping her thighs. I was so shook. I didn't make a sound. I just backed away, my heart hammering so loud I thought they'd hear it. I went to my room and sat on the floor, staring at nothing. I tried to tell myself I was imagining it. Maybe I saw wrong. Maybe it wasn't what I thought. But deep down, I knew. I knew something was up. After that, I noticed more things. Lily always sitting too close to Ethan on the couch. Their secret little smiles when no one was looking. The way she wore his t-shirts to bed, even though she had plenty of her own. Once, during family movie night, I saw her hand resting on his inner thigh under the blanket. I almost gagged. I wanted to tell someone. But who? Mom and Dad wouldn't believe me. They adored Ethan and Lily, and I'd just be jealous or making trouble. Grandma. She was the matriarch. If anyone could fix this, it would be her. But every time I tried to bring it up, my throat closed like I was choking. Fast forward to now. I moved out last year for college. I thought putting distance between us would make me feel better, but it didn't. The anxiety followed me, curling around my ribs like a parasite. I started avoiding family gatherings, making excuses. But last month I had to come home for Grandma's 75th birthday. The house looked the same, smelled the same, like lemon cleaner and stale air. Ethan and Lily were there, of course. When I hugged them, I felt Lily's nails dig into my back a little too hard. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. That night I couldn't sleep. I went downstairs to get water and saw the light on in the den. I crept closer. I heard voices. Something along the lines of, "She's going to find out," Lily whispered. "She won't," Ethan says, and he continues, "She's too scared to say anything. And even if she did." "She'd never hurt Grandma like that." My mind raced with thoughts as I stood there frozen. I should have left. I should have gone back upstairs and pretended I heard nothing. But I couldn't. Something was pulling me forward, like a moth to a flame. I peeked in and saw them on the couch. Ethan's hand was on Lily's knee. She was crying, and he was kissing her hair. And then she says, "I don't like it anymore. It feels wrong." Ethan then gently says, "You know it's what Grandma wants. She said we're special. She said this is how we keep the family strong, and you can't possibly tell me you don't enjoy this." My stomach turned to ice. I backed away so fast I almost tripped over a side table. My water glass slipped from my hand and shattered. The sound echoed through the house. Ethan and Lily ran out of the den. Ethan's face was pale, his jaw tight. Lily looked like a ghost. "Did you hear something?" Ethan asked. "No, Elite." I dropped my glass. Sorry. They stared at me for a moment too long, then disappeared upstairs. I stood there trembling, blood pounding in my ears. The next morning I went to Grandma's room. I don't know why. Maybe to confront her. Maybe to beg her to tell me it wasn't true. She was sitting at her vanity, brushing her silver hair. "You look pale, sweetheart," she said without turning. "Didn't sleep well?" "Grandma," I said, my voice cracking, What did you mean when you told Ethan and Lily they're special?" She set the brush down and finally looked at me in the mirror. Her eyes, normally so warm, were now so cold and sharp. Then she goes, "Oh, darling," she says softly. "Some things are too complicated for outsiders to understand." "I'm not an outsider," I whispered. She fixed a smile on her face, not kindly though. "You've always been the weak one. You wouldn't survive it anyways." "Survive what?" Her smile widened. "The tradition." "Don't say it like that," she snapped. "This family was built on closeness, on loyalty, on love that doesn't bow to society's rules." I backed toward the door. "You're sick." Her expression softened again, almost pitying. "You'll understand one day when it's your turn. We all have to do our part." I ran out of her room, out of the house, out into the freezing air barefoot. My phone was still in my room, but I didn't care. I just kept running until my lungs burned. "I've been staying with a friend for the past 2 weeks. I haven't answered any calls or texts from my family, but I can feel them circling. Ethan sent me a message yesterday. We need to talk. It's not what you think." "But it is." "It's exactly what I think."
Hold on, if you're enjoying this story, kindly subscribe, like, and drop a comment. Thank you. Now back your story.
I didn't go back to the house after that night. I couldn't. Even as I sat in my friend's apartment, curled up on their couch with a blanket pulled up to my chin like it was some kind of armor, I kept hearing her words echoing in my skull. "We all have to do our part," over and over, like she'd carved them into the folds of my brain. I didn't tell my friend the full story. How could I? What was I supposed to say? "Oh, my brother and sister are screwing each other because our grandmother told them to, and now I'm terrified she's going to try to fold me into their little nightmare family tradition?" No. I just said there was bad blood at home and I needed some space. And fortunately, she didn't press. A week turned into a month. My parents texted me polite things at first. "We miss you at dinner." "Lily isn't the same without her big sister around." Then Ethan's messages turned sharper. "You're making a mistake. You need to come home. Grandma's getting worried." So I blocked him. I thought that would be enough. But sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night, convinced I heard someone pacing outside the apartment door, or I'd catch a flash of silver hair in the corner of my eye on the subway, only to whip around and see a stranger. I started seeing a therapist through my college. She said what you'd expect. "It sounds like you grew up in a very enmeshed family system. You're experiencing hypervigilance because of trauma." I wanted to believe her, but in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, she doesn't know my family. She doesn't know Grandma. Then one day the call came. It was my dad. I didn't recognize the number, but when I answered, his voice was tight, brittle. "Oh, it's Grandma," he said. She passed in her sleep last night." I didn't say anything. I could barely even. Then he adds, "She was peaceful," as if that would comfort me. "We're planning a memorial. I know things have been hard, but she loved you, honey. She'd want you there." I hung up without answering. The next few days were a blur. I thought I'd feel relief, like a weight had been lifted, but instead I felt this hollow pit in my chest, gnawing deeper every hour. I couldn't stop thinking about how she'd smiled at me that day in her room, that pitying little smile, like she knew something I didn't. 2 weeks after her death, my parents announced they were working on a biography of Grandma's life. Of course they were. She'd been their saint, the perfect matriarch who held us all together. They were gathering old photos, letters, stories from neighbors. It was all over Facebook, a tribute to Margaret, who taught us what it means to be family. I tried not to look. I really did. But late one night, I found myself scrolling through the memorial page, staring at photos of her younger years. And that's when I noticed something. In the oldest photos, black and white ones from the 50s, Grandma was standing in front of a huge stone building. In one, she was holding a clipboard. In another, she was smiling with a group of women in white uniforms. The caption read, "Margaret and fellow nurses, 1957. But the building, something about it clawed at my memory. I zoomed in on the sign above the doorway. The resolution was terrible, but I could just make out the words, Willow Creek Sanitarium. My stomach dropped. I knew that name. When I was 10, I'd gone on a field trip to the Town History Museum. There was an exhibit about Willow Creek, a notorious asylum that was shut down in the 1960s after a series of incidents. The plaque had said most patients were relocated to other facilities, but several escaped during the chaos and were never found. I told myself I was overreacting. She was a nurse. She probably just worked there. But something didn't fit. Grandma had never talked about being a nurse. She always said she worked as a secretary in her youth. Why lie about something like that? The next day, I called the museum. I don't even know why. Curiosity? Paranoia? Some part of me that needed to tear open the wound and see how deep it really went? "Hi," I said. "I'm doing some family research. Do you have records of staff at Willow Creek Sanitarium?" The woman on the phone paused. "We do have some records, but they're mostly of patients, not staff. The staff records were lost in the fire." "Patients?" I asked. My voice felt like it didn't belong to me. "Could you check for a Margaret?" "Last name." I gave it. There was a long silence. Then, yes. Margaret Lenneth, admitted 1953, escaped 1957. My skin went cold. "Escaped?" I croaked. She then goes on to ask, "Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, are you saying this was your grandmother?" But I hung up. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. My grandmother hadn't been a nurse. She'd been a patient in a notorious asylum known for housing people declared morally unfit by the courts. And she escaped. And she built a family. And she taught that family her traditions. I sat there for hours, staring at the wall. At some point, my phone buzzed with a new text from an unknown number. It was a photo of me as a baby. Grandma was holding me. Her face was pressed to my cheek. The caption read, "Your turn is coming, sweetheart. We all have to do our part." I dropped the phone and ran to the bathroom to throw up. I don't know who sent it. Ethan? Lily? Or someone else? All I know is I haven't been sleeping. Every time I close my eyes, I dream I'm back in that house. Grandma's there, brushing her hair at the vanity. In the mirror, her eyes are black voids. And in the reflection, Ethan and Lily are standing behind me, smiling.